For that, Jamal. So, I have a pretty open ended question for you. It is simple and complex at the same time. So,
Right.
how did you get here?
Ah, I love it. How did I get here? It reminds me of like the movie openings when the characters they turn to the camera, they break the fourth wall. You're probably wondering how I got here. I have been an editor for the past 20 years, but I started off as a teacher. I graduated from Morehouse College in 2003 with a math degree. Had no clue what I wanted to do with it. And so my cousin was like, "Hey, we need a math teacher." This is back in my home state of North Carolina. And so I became my cousin's math teacher at the same junior high school that I attended as a student. Did that for 2 years. Did not know what I wanted to do past those 2 years. I knew I no longer wanted to be a teacher, and it wasn't about the kids, it was about the money. I wanted to make more. And I was 24, and at the time, Monster.com was a big thing. So I saw this job for a company called Pearson Education, an e-learning company in Arizona. They were looking for a math editor. Applied for the job, even though I had no editing experience, I knew how to read a file and pick out all the things that were wrong with it. Applied for the job and they got my resume. And this is back in the days when companies were still flying people out to interview. And they flew me out to Arizona from North Carolina. I had a whole day of interviews. And within a couple of days of getting back home, they gave me a job offer. And that was my first editing job in the e-learning space. Was in that space for about a decade. Um, and then in 2017, 2018, I saw a job with Capital Group as a copy editor. It was a freelance position. Applied for that job, got it, worked that for a couple of years, became full time, and then a couple of years into that role, became a copy editor manager. I had always been big on advocating for and empowering other copy editors, but this role allowed me to do it in a really official capacity. And I was very excited about it. I've been doing that for the past 3 years. And I still love empowering and advocating for copy editors, to the point where I wrote my book. And the rest is, as they say, history. Um, so added all that together, I've been in this profession for 20 years, and it's honestly been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my career.
That is wonderful. So, I am sure that you had a lot of ups and downs from where you started to where you are now. And I know that you wrote your book, The Copy Editor's Lifestyle Guide, to add something new to the market that you wish you had there. What was the catalyst for actually making that book go from just an idea to actually published? What was the thought process?
I I figured if I wrote a book at this point in my career, and I think at that point I had just gotten the role of copy editor manager at Capital Group, I told myself if I wrote a book at this point, I have a platform now where people would take what I have to say seriously. And at that point, I had 20 years of experience just trying to, and as you mentioned, a lot of ups and downs, just trying to find my way. And I'm really big on paying it forward. And I told myself, if I can't use all the things that I've learned, all the ups and downs, all the challenges, all the days where I cried and wanted to give up, if I didn't use all of that to help push the next generation forward, or that even that veteran editor who um, no longer has the joy in that profession anymore, if I don't use all my learnings to help push this profession forward in some beautiful way, then what am I doing? And so I wanted to use this book to help other editors hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls and challenges that I had early in my career. If I can help one person avoid the landmines that I kind of fell into over these past 20 years, then I've done a great job. And so, I started writing the book. It didn't take me very long to write that first draft because I was so passionate about all the things I wanted to say. And I had such a clear vision for how I wanted to present those things. And so once I decided to put my mind to it and get it out there, the rest was pretty easy. It just kind of flowed out of me. And I went from outline to publishing literally within 6 months.
That's really, really great to hear. So you went from being a finalist for the Robinson Prize from ACES to actually being the 2025 winner. I'm not sure if everyone here knows, but Jamal is the first Black recipient of the Robinson Prize. So this is literally history making. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The prize has been around for quite some time. And, to be the first Black winner, like, how does it feel?
Even when you say that, I get chills. Like it's one thing to like in the back of your mind know it, but to hear that out loud from you, and the award has been around for 20 plus years, and to make history in this way, it feels incredibly gratifying. Um, because hopefully it lets another Black editor know that they too can be holding the Robinson Prize one day. Um, I think about all the people who opened doors for me in my life and my career. Think about I was raised by two of the most incredible Black women you'd ever want to meet. My two great aunts who were sisters. They passed away many years ago, so they didn't live to see me get this. But those women had third grade educations. And in spite of that, they were able to inspire and influence and raise three generations of kids, who went on to do great things. So I think about all the people who can come after me, who are now inspired by this award, but also the people who made it possible for me. Those unsung heroes who maybe those doors didn't open for them, but because of what they decided to do to give back, that door opened for me. And so I think about all those people who never had the chance, um, but ensured that I did. So my feelings around this are multifold, and they often overwhelm me when I think about it. I am truly humbled because I have put the work into this profession for many, many years. And it's nice to see that work that I've done be recognized in such a beautiful way.
So I want to take a second to acknowledge the people who raised you, the Black women who raised you. Like, it is not an easy task raising a Black
No.
child in the United States of America. And so when you reflect on the outpouring of love from your caregivers, it's one of those things that you may not appreciate when you're younger, but then you feel and you realize how powerful that is.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I think about your success, like, first of all, we want to give you your flowers while you're here. So, yay for you. But also, I feel like as Black editors, we really do, it's almost like we owe it to our ancestors to do the things that they were not able to do, but they set us up for it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like you plant the seeds knowing that you'll never be able to benefit from the shade of those trees. And
Mm.
I think that that is something that we all carry with us every day. It is a really powerful thing, and I am so appreciative of all of our elders, our caregivers, our ancestors, that they really pushed us forward even as they were held back. I think that is something that we should never forget. Um, and I don't have a Robinson Prize, but just knowing that about the people who came before us, it makes me feel like an award winner because they gave
Mm.
us the best prize of all. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, Ebony. And you said that you don't have the Robinson Prize, but I believe that that day is coming for you. Your
Let's
star
hope.
is steadily rising. People know who you are. The work that you're doing is amazing and it's transformative. I think it's just a matter of time. I
Thank
didn't think
you.
I would ever win the Robinson Prize, and it happened last year. I see that in your future as well. So I'm big on speaking things into existence, and I just want to say that to you. Um, As far as, the people who came before us who never got their due, I'm really big on honoring people who open doors. I mentioned my two great aunts. Their names were Annie and Sally and Wheeler. One of the things that I've done in my career that I'm most proud of is honoring them both with a memorial scholarship. So Annie passed away in 1998, and she was a sharecropper, believe it or not, even in 1998. And Sally Ann was a domestic worker. So anybody who's seen The Help has an idea of what Sally Ann did. She passed away in 2010. One of the things I wanted to do was to recognize their sacrifice because they went their entire lives without getting a light shown onto them. And so I decided to start this scholarship. I wanted to do it in 2015, but I didn't realize what it took to start a scholarship. It takes $25,000 just to set up a memorial scholarship. Didn't have it at the time. As fate would have it, I ended up at Capital Group where I was making a lot more money, had a much bigger platform, and Capital Group has one of the best charitable giving programs in the country. And in 2021, with my cousin's help, with Capital Group help, I was able to establish the Annie and Sally Ann Wheeler Memorial Scholarship, which goes to a graduating senior at North Edgecombe High School, my alma mater. And it's the same high school that we all went to. And it was literally down the street from those two incredible women who had those third grade educations. And we just relaunched year five of the scholarship. And the award for this year is $9,000. The first year it was 3,000, then 3,000 the second year, 4,000 year three, 6,000 year four. And now because of the success of and how much we've raised and how much those women have resonated with the public, we're awarding $9,000 this year. So I'm super grateful that these women are now being recognized in such a monumental way. I'm sure they never could have imagined the degree that they would be honored, but if they didn't give to me, if they hadn't paid it forward, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you all today. So as much as I enjoy paying it forward, as much as I think it's a duty to pay it forward, it's just as important to reach back and honor those who made it possible for you. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So, this leads me to a question that even has me thinking. So, do you feel like winning this award was validation or a manifestation of your power?
Mm. I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was validating for me because I had done the work for 20 years, um, you know, advocating for editors, pushing them forward in ways, using my creativity to give editors a bigger platform. Um, but I also think it was a manifestation of everything, starting from before I was even born. I think all the people who poured into me, from the time I, you know, became a person, all that played a role because it set me on a path. It gave me resilience. It gave me focus. Um, and ever since I was a kid, I've been super focused on, you know, giving back and doing what's right and working hard. And they always say when you're black, you have to work twice as hard as people who are non-POC. When that's ingrained in you from an early age and you carry that throughout your life, I think the Robinson Prize is a manifestation of that. Whatever career I would have fallen into, even if it wasn't editing, I think eventually I would have hit another peak, whatever that career was. I just happened to be an editor, and I'm a big believer in whatever career path you take, you be the best that you can be at it. Even if you're a person who is a domestic worker or you're working in the tobacco fields like my Aunt Anne was, um, I think it's important to just do the best you can. So I think the Robinson Prize was just a manifestation of what was poured into me from the very beginning of my life.
Thank you for that. So, your journey has been long, couple of decades,
Couple of
and
decades. Yeah.
yes, and you've gone through so much to get here. So, I know that you touched upon this in your book, but I would love to hear from you. What do you feel were your strengths or weaknesses, and what do you feel like there were opportunities and threats? And I ask that because in business, um, people do sort of a SWOT analysis to sort of figure out where they fit into the market. And as a Black editor, whether you want to or not, you kind of have to figure out where you fit into that market. So,
Mhm.
what do you feel like your strengths and weaknesses were? What opportunities did you see? And what did you feel like was a threat to your success?
Mm, that is a very, very good question. I think my strengths as an editor, even in the beginning, were my resilience and my willingness to learn and do better. Because I'll be honest, when I first started as an editor, I wasn't very good. I had raw talent, like I could see something and kind of pick it apart, but I wasn't trained. And so those early deficiencies, my first manager called them out on the regular. And it did kind of like my confidence took a hit because, I was a little bit cocky in my 20s and I thought I had it all figured out and I didn't. Um, but what kept me moving forward and what kept me in this profession and kept me not giving up was um, just wanting to prove everybody wrong. I'm really big on if you doubt me, I'm going to show you that I can do this. And so I think that is what kept me moving forward in this profession. In the beginning, I wanted to just be a decent editor, to maintain my position. But as the years went on, something in me like sparked where I wanted to be the best. I wanted to outwork everybody. I wanted to find just one more thing than the next person. Um, I wanted to be the best in my profession. If I had to think of a weakness, I think, and I mentioned this in my book, and I don't know if it's a weakness because it can also be a strength at times, is that I'm really, really hard on myself. Part of it is an intrinsic thing, but there's another part of it that comes from being a black face in a profession that's not so black. Um, I found in my career that I haven't always been given the same level of grace as other people who don't look like me. My mistakes were often twice as costly as those other people. And so I internalized that a lot in my career. And I would be really hard on myself. And what the result of that was the opposite of what I wanted. Me being really strict about not making more mistakes only led to more mistakes. And so at some point in my career, I had to really figure out like, do I just want to be a copy editor who's not trying to make a mistake? Or am I just trying to, or am I or is my mission to be the best copy editor that I can be? And I think in order to be the best that you can be at whatever it is you're doing, there has to be some degree of joy in that. And in order to have joy, there has to be grace. And so after years in this profession and years of beating myself up, I decided to have joy in this profession. I decided to give myself grace in this profession. And it served me well because as a manager, I am pushing joy onto the people that I manage. I am giving grace to those people so that they can be better editors. And so that was definitely a weakness for me that I turned into an opportunity, um, not only for myself, but for other editors who are coming after me. As far as any threats to my stature in this profession, all of the threats that I've seen have been internal. There haven't really been very many external threats to my career. The only threats that I had were, um, me lacking confidence earlier on, or me, you know, sometimes getting complacent in the role early on. Um, but I think as time went on and I became better and I became more confident and I became more of an advocate and um, realizing that my role isn't just about the work that I do on the page, it's also about how I can um, push things forward for other people. I think those threats um, turn into opportunities, turn into strengths, and it landed me in the position that I am today, which is having an ability to uh, empower other people and um, I don't know, just help other editors realize that your impact can be more than what you redline, just redlining copy. It can be really pushing this profession forward in a beautiful way and recognizing that your stamp on this profession is your stamp. No editor edits the same way. Therefore, our impact on this profession will look like no one else's.
I agree. I have one more question for you before we take a couple of questions from the audience. So, in your book, you talk about the balance so that you don't feel completely overwhelmed and stressed out and anxious all the time doing your work.
Mhm.
So, when a large portion of your work is about, you know, ensuring that your work is as correct as possible, understanding that correctness is fluid depending on what you're editing and the powers that be. But what are the three things you feel like were are a part of finding and keeping that joy in your work when you're always going to be looked at as the person who has to make everything perfect? The outside pressure to be error free, whatever that means. What are the three components that you draw on to find and maintain that joy?
Mm. I don't know if I have three things, but one of the things that immediately comes to mind for me is looking backwards and knowing that all the mistakes that I made in my career as an editor, all the misses that I made, I'm still standing. They didn't cost me my jobs. They didn't cost me the respect of my colleagues. Um, the world didn't end. I still have a career that I'm thriving in. That's probably the first thing is knowing that it's going to be okay. Um, the key is when you do make a mistake, and they're going to be inevitable. Like there's no way around making mistakes. We're humans at the end of the day. Um, Finding the tools to move forward in a healthy way. And for me, that looks like recognizing what caused the mistake in the first place. Um, and, you know, once I see what that thing is, making a point to not make that same mistake again. I do this thing where whenever I do miss something that goes out the door, I take a sheet of paper and I fold it in half. And on the left side of the paper, I write down all the things that I did well on the project. And it's usually a very long list. And I'm pretty sure for all of you, whatever project you work on, your list of like what you got right is going to be long. And on the right-hand side, I write down the things that I missed. And it's usually going to be a couple of small things if you missed anything at all. Um, and what I find is the list of things that I got right on that project far exceeds the list of things that I did not get right. Whatever file that you work on, whatever piece that you're editing, however it goes out the door, you'll find that it'll be in far better shape after you looked at it than it was when it came to you. And there's a lot of pride you can take into that. Yeah, the mistake is going to be there and you want to avoid it for next time, but just know that you did your job and you did the best job you could. And whatever that mistake was, you may not make the same mistake going forward, but there may be a different mistake. But you have to give yourself grace and you have to have peace in knowing that you put your all into that piece. You may not have had the amount of time you wanted to get it done, or there may have been other things that came into play that may have led to that mistake. But know that your intentions as a copy editor, as a professional, were good. Another thing that I do to make sure that I don't overwhelm myself is I create a weekly checklist and I put it in the book as well. I discovered this in 2012 that, I will write down on a sheet of paper. Some people use like digital means, but I love pen and paper. I love to be able to see it and write it down. I write down Monday through Sunday on a sheet of paper. And every day that week, I write down a list of tasks that may be editing based or maybe some personal things I have to do throughout that week. And I try not to put more than 3 or 4 items a day um, for every day on that list. And I find that when I can see on the page what I have to do to get through my week, and it's not overwhelming, that manifests throughout my week. I can find my week more manageable. When it's out of my head and onto the page, I find that my life, my week, my work is a lot more manageable, and I can get through it um, being even killed, being focused, being intentional about my week, um, and I don't get overwhelmed. And so that has been a total game changer in how I approach my not just my career, but my life as well.
That is a very, very interesting and good way to approach it. I think I'm going to try that. I
It
try not
works. I've
to
been
put
doing
30
it every
things
week.
on.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing it every week for the past 13 years, and it has been one of my saving graces.
That is very good. That is very good. So, I believe we have a couple minutes for questions, if anyone has any, before we get to the workshop part of it. So, after the questions, the workshop portion is everyone working individually on the prompts that we have that are based off of this conversation. 15 minutes of quiet work, and then we're going to share what we have with each other and have a discussion. Just so you know, the recording goes off after the guest speaker so that we can engage with each other without worrying about what we share. Okay? So if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat. If you don't have any questions now, we can take some at the end after the share out portion of this workshop. So let me know if you have anything to ask Jamaal or myself.
And while we wait for folks to maybe type those questions, you mind if I jump in and give out our door prize today?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we're really excited to get to give away a copy of Jamal's book. I Let me drop a link of it in the chat. Um, and we're gonna give it away as a door prize. So it'll be randomly to one of our attendees today. Here is the link to it on Amazon. But let me pull up our list of attendees. And I wish I had like a drum roll sound effect. Can I get an audio soundboard? Do we have the budget for that on them? For me to be able to just put right in like a drum roll. I'll do crickets too for like good fun. I mean applause. I'll do lots of
You
applause.
can find a free one on YouTube though and play it during the moments when you're announcing things.
Okay, I'll take that. And I have our winner. So our winner today of Jamal's book is Karina Lay. Karina, do you want to accept this prize? If so,
Yay.
I'm gonna drop my email in the chat. If you could just email me your address so I can get that shipped to you, I would be happy to. So congratulations.
Congrats, Karina.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, I'm starting to get some questions. And the first one is Jamal, thank you for your transparency. I'm a writer in journalism with a journalism degree. And while my concentration is writing, I'm at a point in my career where I'd like to branch out into editing as well. Do you have some self I do have some self doubt with my editing skills. What resources would you consider recommending in addition to your book? Before you answer that, I just want to remind everyone that on Wednesday, our Wednesday event for Black History Month features an award winning journalist. So make sure you come to that as well if you want that insight as well. So, what do you say, Jamal?
That is a great question. And let me start before I give you resources by saying, it's natural to have a little bit of doubt and anxiety and fear when you're kind of changing careers or pivoting. to somewhere else, that is normal. That is fine. I think having a little bit of anxiety lets you know that you're taking the task ahead of you seriously. I find that when I have a few nerves here and there, that means that I know what's ahead of me, that I'm taking it seriously, that it matters to me. When I don't have any nerves, that's when I start to worry because I'm like, something's missing here, something's going to go wrong. But congratulations for you making this decision to pivot into editing. If I had to name any resources outside of my book, I'm a big fan of the Subversive Copy Editor by Carol Fisher Saller, and it gets into some of what I get into as well, as far as like work-life balance, but it also talks a lot about the author editor relationship too. And I think if you're a new editor, one of the first relationships you want to make sure that you kind of hone and get into tip-top shape is that relationship to your writer. So I definitely recommend that book as well. There are a million grammar editing books out there that talk about the function and mechanics of the role, and those are great. I could probably name 1,000 of them, but I think the books that really talk to the human side of editing, like mine, like Carol's, are going to be just as beneficial as you're navigating this new path for yourself.
That's
We had
helpful.
oh, sorry, Ebony.
No, I was saying that's helpful. What did you want to say, Ollie?
Oh, we had another question come through, so I was gonna
Yes, please.
read. Hi Jamal, is it too late for late bloomers? I just graduated from Penn State and desire to enter the editing field, but now that I am in my 40s, I feel discouraged.
Oh, that is powerful. What was the name on that question again, Oliver?
Marna Carter.
Marna, Marna, thank you for your question. It is never too late. I think as long as you have breath in your body and desire, there's time for you to jump into it. I speak from experience, not about the editing part, because I started my editing career in my early 20s. But for those of you who don't know, I'm also a screenwriter. Um, I am turning 45 this year, and I've only been writing screenplays for the past 10 years. Before that, I was an actor and trying to break into the industry that way, but it just wasn't panning out the way that I wanted to. I've always been a great writer. I've always loved creating worlds. And when I hit my mid 30s, I was like, well, maybe I can start screenwriting and see what happens. So I started writing some shorts with a friend of mine just for fun, just to see how I would like it. I really enjoyed it. And then as time went on, I started writing full pilots and like a full feature screenplays from there. I was in my 40s when I got my first manager. And now that I'm 44 years old, I have a script that I wrote called Long Way Home. It's about a missing kid. And that script at 44 years old is getting attention from an A-list actress and her entire team. They have read the script, they have loved it, and they want her to do this project if she feels the same way. Um, I say all that to say, if I at 35 was like, it's too late for me, I can never be a screenwriter, I would have never gotten to this point at 44 of having a project being looked at and being passed around Hollywood. As long as your desire is there, as long as you want to, um, have an impact in this field, that door is open for you. It's never too late. And don't ever give up on yourself. I know that the world often makes people feel like if you haven't reached a pinnacle by a certain point, it's too late because we're always seeing 40 on the 40 list and 30 on the 30 list. But I think those lists, they kind of miss the people who um, discover their new passions and have overcome the odds to get to a certain point, and maybe not in the time frame that the world says they need to, but in their own time. So as long as you want the thing that's in front of you, your age won't matter. And the editing community I found has been one of the most helpful, supportive communities out there. Whatever fear um, you have a community of people around you who will definitely lift you up and support you, including myself. So if you haven't already connected with me or Ebony or some of the other folks on the call, make sure you do that because I think that's going to be um, just as beneficial to you uh, as anything as you navigate this new path.
Absolutely. Anyone is free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website. I'm literally only a message away. Even if you just want to say hi, I love saying hi. So we have one
Likewise.
more
Yeah.
question, and then I
Yeah.
would like to workshop. Who was speaking?
Oh, I was saying, yeah, we have another question. Sorry,
Do
Ebony.
you mind reading it,
Uh,
Oliver, please?
Not at all. Hi Jamal, thank you for sharing with us today. What you shared about the importance of showing yourself grace really stood out to me, and also the idea that being hypervigilant about errors can lead to more errors. I don't hear
Mhm.
many editors talking about the stressful slash anxiety part of editing, and so I appreciate your speaking about that. Can you talk a little more about how to let go of that perfectionism and fear? And that comes from
Yeah.
Vic.
Um, I suspect that most of us on this call are able to let go of perfectionism and fear in other areas of our lives. And then there's the editing career, and that's the one spot where we're like hyper focused. And yes, our livelihoods are tied to, what we do for our careers. But I I don't equate editing as a career that needs to be looked at like people look at neurosurgery. You know what I'm saying? Um, I mentioned this in the book too. It's like LeBron has pressure unlike no other. Serena, when she played tennis, has pressure like no other. A person who's a neurosurgeon has that kind of pressure. Why are we putting that same pressure on ourselves? Yes, what we're tasked to do is very important, but nobody's going to live or die based on the edits that we make. Um, and if you know that making errors is a part of the job that we do and it's going to happen despite your best efforts, why put that additional pressure on yourself so that when you do make that effort, you're going to fall apart? Like, I don't buy into the idea that we can't give ourselves grace, that we can't make mistakes, that we have to be completely tense. I'm a big believer in enjoying the career that you've chosen for yourself because so much of your time will be spent working within that field. Why not make it fun? Why not make it enjoyable? Yes, do the best you can. Yes, be highly skilled. Yes, take the courses. Yes, read the books. Yes, do all those things, but also know that at the end of the day, you're a human being. Um, and that those mistakes are going to happen. It's what you do, is how you respond to those mistakes that are going to influence your happiness, um, and help you relax and like really lean into the enjoyment part. Know that the mistakes are coming and know that you will have a plan for addressing them when they do happen. I think that's going to be the thing that gives you peace over anything else. Don't focus on being so tightly wound on the front end. Relax on the front end. Do the best work you can, but know that if you do make a mistake, you have a plan in place as a professional editor for handling that mistake in the best possible way so that you don't derail your career, and your joy in what you're doing.
That is excellent advice. Thank you for that, Jamal.
Um,
So I would like to move on to the workshop portion because I know that every single one of us has something that they really, really want to do. And I know that some people may not feel empowered to do so. So, in this part of the workshop, what I would like to do is for us to first individually and then share out, explore two questions. So, get a piece of paper, write down the question, and then think about it, jot it down. It doesn't have to be full sentences. It could be bullet points, it could be scribbles. No one is judging you, no one is seeing your paper. So feel absolutely free to write what you can. So the first question I have for everyone is, what is your big, fantastic, audacious goal for yourself and your career? It doesn't matter how big it is, it's yours and you want it. And I want you to write it down and recognize it. The second question is, I want each of you on that piece of paper to write down your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities for you to pursue your big, audacious goal, and any threats that you think might derail you. And the threats part is literally just for awareness. And you might find that your threats are tied to your weaknesses. You know, things seem like threats because you feel like you're not as strong. So, what we're going to do, we're going to lay it out all out on the table. We're going to think about it. And then Jamal and I would love to hear from you at the other end of this. So, just take 15 minutes, write down your big, fantastic, audacious goal, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you need a bio break, now's a good time too. And so we will come back here at 12:30 Eastern and we'll talk about it.